Okay, here we are. How is everybody? This has been probably the strangest week and a half in my life. And depending on where you are in the world, that week and a half may have hit you a few weeks ago, or you may just be feeling the start of it. But I'm at home, as you'll see everyone else is. But my wife and I were just talking over a little while ago, thinking that, not Monday, but the Monday before. So 2 Mondays ago, everything was completely normal. It was just, hey, yes, there's something going on, but life is the same. And then now the state of Pennsylvania, where we are in the United States, all non-essential businesses are closed. The OffTheLeftEye studio is closed. So you'll see us all here. And everybody's trying to figure out what's life going to be like and coping with the new reality that we're in and all the different ways people are getting hit with it. And so we thought that we just wanted to, first of all, get together and see all of you as much as we can through the web, and then get to talk to each other. And I just think that at going through something like this, the COVID-19 or what they had some scientific name for it, I forgot it now. The virus is not coronavirus anymore. You know what it is. But just thinking about the concepts that we talk about on this channel and how I've been leaning on them to help me get through it and trying to find some light there. And I wanted to hear how other people are doing that. And we've been hearing from all of you. Actually, the idea for the show came from, we got from a viewer of the show in France who was saying, can you do something on the coronavirus pandemic and sort of how to manage some of the fear and anxiety that go on during that and how to bring people together. So that's what we're trying to do here today. Everybody, thanks for coming. How's everyone out there? I mean, like the people in this, not the people watching, but you guys who are in this Zoom call with me right now. How are you all doing?
Taking it a day at a time.
All right. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Doing okay.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to be here to just center on what's important right now.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm happy to be here and getting to offer some thoughts to people. And I like the way that this time has forced some slowing down, and that's so even amidst all the uncertainty, there's I find myself having more time to look out the window and or notice nature or spend a little more time outside and things like that. And that's so I'm sort of looking for the positives amidst all the other things, and there's a lot of them. I'm fine.
Yeah, right. A great positive I found was really let me know, hey, I got a long way to go on this whole trust the Lord taking care of everything thing. Because as soon as things started to really hit, I've just definitely been in whoa, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And I can feel this sort of I was trying to pinpoint it, but this sort of looming something. And I realized it's the future. I usually have a general sense of the future and that everything is going to go okay. And it's sort of suffocated out because I don't know what the future is going to hold. And I found myself instinctively reaching for the Swedenborg concepts and really finding, when I think about divine providence, and in particular, I was thinking about sort of this bubble where we are right now of sort of darkness, but then outside that is heaven. And it's all around because I think about, okay, what if I got sick and died or something? The heaven is all around. So right away, I was feeling okay, this is what's here going to help me through. Because when I start to go to my other tools, I just spiral down. So I want to hear from all of you, have there been some useful Swedenborg tools, and how you've been using them to cope, in particular with the fear and anxiety that can come up during this. So what's been working for everyone?
I'll start, and I'm going to continue off what you were starting to say. Is it has really made me realize the night and day difference between remembering to live in the present and getting fearful about the future, and how the biggest enemy is fear because it brings so much more suffering than is necessary and takes away so much energy that is just needed to cope with, okay, what needs to happen today? What do I need to do today? And just when faced with, there's some basic supplies, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get them. And the fear just carrying me into a future when actually I still have those supplies right now. I'm just worried about in the future I might not have them. And how ridiculous that gets, that brings me so much more suffering. Or my daughter did come down with a fever, and what if it is, but it isn't. Just the amazing difference, and how I just become a punching bag for hell when I allow fear to take over. And that was really making me think about this passage in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus' Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 6. And it's this famous section that includes consider the lilies and do not worry, don't worry. And the verse that really struck out for me was Matthew 6, verse 34. It's the end of this section. And it says, so do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring worries of its own. Today's trouble is enough for today. And I found that so potent that there's so much more suffering if I worry about tomorrow, when I don't even know what's going to happen yet tomorrow. That, and that can be how hell gets me afraid, because I want to know what's going to happen tomorrow. But if I just focus on, what do I have today? What can I do today? What's the new rule today that I need? That is so much more handleable. And I think that is what Jesus is trying to tell us. He's not trying to say, you have nothing at all to worry about, but he's just saying, hone it into just the present, just live in the present, and you'll have so much less suffering. And in Heaven and Hell, Swedenborg's Heaven and Hell, number 281, Swedenborg says that in this section, the do not worry section in the Sermon on the Mount, Swedenborg says, the state of innocence is described by the Lord in Matthew 6, 24 to 34, but in pure correspondences. So in the literal sense, he's saying, don't worry about if you'll have, what will I eat? What will I drink? What will I clothing? And of course, right now we're all having to worry about those things, or think about how to get what we need. But Swedenborg is pointing out, this is correspondence. And so Jesus is not saying just like, don't even plan or anything. He is trying to hone us into an attitude. So finishing Heaven and Hell 281, Swedenborg says, this section is in correspondences, talking about live in a state of innocence. And he continues, the reason good is good to the extent that there is innocence in it is that all good comes from the Lord, and innocence is being willing to be led by the Lord. And being led by the Lord doesn't mean not planning ahead or anything, but it means taking a day at a time and, seeing how your plans are gonna, if the plans have to change the next day because something changed, then you go with that, and just to stay present. And so it's like we did a show called What Does It Really Mean to Turn the Other Cheek? And we learned that it's not, Jesus was saying literally, if someone hits you on one cheek, turn the other and let them hit you again. It's about an inner attitude for dealing with things. And so this is the same thing. It's about your inner attitude can either make the challenges you are actually dealing with harder or easier. Because if your inner attitude is focus on the present, trust that together we can help each other get through this, then that's going to be so much easier than if your inner attitude is just collapsing into fear about the unknown. And I'll read one quote that I found really described the difference between, as Swedenborg does, he talks about this kind of person does this, and this happens in this kind of person.
Right.
But I'm thinking of it in terms of when I'm that kind of person, this is what happens to me. And when I'm this kind of person, this is what. So I'll just read this and then I'll pass it back to you guys. This is Secrets of Heaven, 8478. So he's talking about this do not worry section in the Sermon on the Mount. Anyone who examines the question without looking beyond the literal meaning of Jesus's words is apt to believe we must reject all care for the morrow and wait for life's necessities to come from heaven one day at a time. However, people who look deeper than the letter, those who consider the inner meaning, are capable of seeing what care of the morrow really means. It does not mean taking the trouble to acquire food and clothing or resources for the future, because providing for ourselves and our family is not out of line. No, the people with care for the morrow are those who chafe this. So this is me when I'm falling into fear. Chafe under their lot, rely on themselves rather than the divine, have focused solely on worldly and earthly rather than heavenly concerns. So that would mean I need to make sure this happens tomorrow, instead of like, okay, God will show me a way to get through that, and we can help each other, whatever happens tomorrow. Anxiety about the future wholly consumes them. I'll just say me. Anxiety about the future wholly consumes me, as does the lust to own everything and dominate everyone, get every supply that I think that I need right now. A lust that burns and grows bit by bit until it exceeds all bounds. And I really felt myself just completely collapsing when I would let myself go into fear. They grieve if they do not achieve their desires and become frantic when deprived of them. So that was me in some cycles of fear that I was going through. There is no comfort for the loss, because I am then furious with the divine, reject him, discard all belief in him, and call curses down on myself, which means just that extra suffering that comes to me. That's what happens when care for the morrow is, that's what really care for the morrow means, just collapsing into fear. The case is totally different with people, or with me, when I rely on the divine. Although they do have care for the morrow, in another way, they do not, because they do not contemplate the future with anxiety, let alone distress. So that just to me was describing the difference I was experiencing between planning for tomorrow and having concern, like, okay, I have to think of what to do next, and collapsing into upset and anger and, the fear that just brings sort of anger, and there's no consolation there because I'm kind of turning away from God. So that's just some things I was realizing as I noticed the different ways of handling each day, and just so much better when I can take it day by day and have trust that God will show me a way through.
That's great. I thanks so much for sharing that. I'm going to try fear for one more week, but then I'll switch over to the other one. No, it got me, something that brought up was they're saying approaching this from a worldly or a heavenly perspective. I feel like this particular situation provides a really potent theater for you to see the difference between those mindsets. And I'm thinking about when I do need to go into a store because I got to get food and stuff. This whole pandemic, you can really be thinking about it from self-centered perspective or other-centered perspective. And I find that when I'm going into the store and I'm okay, everyone else better not be sick, and I better stay this far away, and if I touch this, I better take, because I could get germs. That's one way, and it's a way you can think about it, and it gets me to act the right way, but it also, I'm anxious when I'm doing it. But the other side of it that everyone's talking about is I could have it and not know. And so I'm going to stand far away from this person because I'm not doing this as I'm trying to get out of here alive. It's like I'm doing my part to try to protect everyone. It's the same actions, like, oh, I better, be careful because I don't want to get this and spread it. Same actions, but I just, like, when I can pull that off, I feel so much. I've actually at times felt like I'm so glad to be doing my part to try to be a good citizen as this goes, which is this amazing turnaround.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, and that really brings to mind what I feel like what was in my mind to be offering people today and stuff. That whole idea of doing your part, because I feel like that's exactly what, some people, one of the things that I find for myself getting, caught up with and thinking is just, especially through social media and stuff, we have such a connection to how everybody else is doing. And, the people in different work sectors and different, I've just been like amazed to think about how different this experience is depending on each individual age that everybody is, like if you're, even with my kids, like I have a 10 and 8 and 7-year-old, and it's like their experience of this is going to be so different than kids who are 12 and 14, and then it's like, I'm in my 30s, and then and as a parent of young kids, and that's so different than a parent who's in their 50s or 60s and has grown-up kids, and where are they? Are they coming home or not? And, just like everybody's experience is so different. And then really sort of beyond that, then I feel like the next step that the fear can bring up for me is like that, how how am I doing my part, or is my little part enough? You know, like, should I be doing more? Is there like, you know, there's so much suffering, but how can we all collectively hold the weight of this suffering and really, you know, believe in that trust of like the collective being enough? And on the one hand, I feel like there really is such an opportunity in that. And there's this number that Swedenborg has that's in his book, Life, Faith. So it's sort of like two little works that are published together, I'm pretty sure. But it's available on the Swedenborg Foundation website. And this number 114, Swedenborg writes, if we turn our backs on evils because they are sins, we are daily doing what is good and are ourselves the useful functions we should be in the body politic. This means that the larger body is being cared for, and so is each member in particular. And so I feel like that it's such a comforting thought to me, that when each of us are, that really it's true to almost like, you know, there's always going to be that earthly focused part of our mind that just can't be convinced of spiritual truth. Like it's never going to feel like, oh yeah, you make a good point. It's never going to take it. But when I can kind of let that settle and kind of relax a little bit into a larger perspective, then that is such a comforting idea to me, that it really is true that like me showing up where I am today, you know, like taking care of this little pocket of the world where I am and following the inspiration that the Lord gives me to help other people, you know, to like show up on this for this show or call a friend or whatever, like that we are these little centers of help and usefulness that the Lord is infusing. And so to really kind of rest in that trust that, doing my part. And I love how he even says in that quote, that's like, if we turn our backs on evils because they are sins. And I feel like that connects to what, Karin was saying, that it's like, if the one thing I can do is be aware of that, you know, wave of like force of fear that would want to sort of take me down, and then be like, oh, okay, no, there's a different perspective, then like I'm serving everybody. Then like the whole world is getting a little bit of a pick me up because I'm doing that one little part. And so it's the same thing of like, you feel good, Curtis, when you're in that store doing that. And it's like, because that really is you serving, caring, being a means of caring for the whole. And so I just think that that's a really comforting idea, or at least it's helped me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's sort of like some of these spiritual principles are becoming really literal in this crisis, because you caring for your, you know, the people in your immediate circle there, that really is, because what we're all doing is trying to keep each other healthy and have a foundation. And so it's like, we really are, if everybody doing that is what is, you know, making it so society can deal with this whole pandemic, and us listening. Okay, so I'm not supposed to go out to this store right now. Okay, I won't, you know, whatever it is. It just seems to me like that stuff is becoming really practical as well as spiritual at the same time.
Yeah. And I do think like, even knowing that it's like, okay, however divine providence has it, like I'm not a healthcare worker, I'm not a governor, I'm not, you know, like just there's sort of this beauty to thinking about, you know, Swedenborg says heaven is just a kingdom of useful services. And so in a scenario like this that we're dealing with, it really comes to the fore that like people are serving these really essential parts of society to help make it work for everybody, and how we all need that and can play our little part in it. So yeah,
right. And it's just, I'm thinking of the people I know who are in healthcare, and before you just thought of them as, okay, well, they've got that job and they just do that, but now it's like, well, you go, is there anything I can do? But yet there has to be this balance of, well, yeah, I'm not on the front lines doing that, but I'm not, because that's not my job. Because I noticed that I'll hit these little plateaus where something's opened up. Maybe we found some kind of supply we needed or something, and I feel like, oh, I'm actually feeling pretty optimistic. And then right then is when, like, look at you, you're safe, but everybody else isn't right now. So because just waiting to keep you in this state of anxiety, which actually, as you're saying, that makes you unhealthy, and that doesn't make it so I'm ready to respond in the areas where I can respond. So
Yeah. And it is, I mean, like, one other little thought on that, like, I know we've touched on in our content in various places, was kind of the kind of like collective fear cloud that we all can be connecting or be affected by and be connecting into. And like, you just think that is really thick right now, sort of in the air, so to speak. And I feel like for people for those moments when you do feel like, oh, like, I have what I need. Like, for the moment I'm okay. And before sort of any like guilt sets in that it's like, oh no, I should be doing, what else should I be doing? Or how am I being better than other people? I don't know, whatever it is. Like, then to know that even having a moment of peace is serving the greater whole too, because that's one less person who's sort of feeding into this, that collective energy field, I think is how Swedenborg calls it. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. That's a great point. Chris, what have you been up to, man? How you doing?
Well, no, I appreciate that we get the chance to center in on a conversation like this. I know, my wife's pregnant. I have a toddler. There's a lot of chaos in the county that we're in, with cases rising. And so I think, like a lot of people, fear and anxiety can be on my mind. But I want to share with you something that really became kind of like an antidote to that kind of like negativity flowing in. And it was the experience I had connecting as a moderator to our community yesterday. So I moderate as OffTheLeftEye for our Thursday News from Heaven that appears at 12:30. And, I think a lot of us coming into that group, there were a good deal of us, maybe 60 to 75 people watching that episode together. And I quickly noticed that the entire space, it just became a vision of what I thought heaven could be like. And it was actually qualified in the way Swedenborg describes how angels interact with one another. And it turned out that as I saw such mutual love exchanged between our fans and the excitement around what Swedenborg's talking about, I saw that everyone in the group was starting to feel better and testifying to how relieving that kind of dynamic was just for them as individuals and as a group. So it was awesome. And I thought, it reminded me specifically of this passage from Swedenborg in Secrets of Heaven that paints a portrait of what it is like to communicate with one another in heaven. So here it is. This is 1392 from Secrets of Heaven. It is also common in the other world for one person to communicate pleasure and happiness in a remarkable way by actually passing them on to a number of others. And this is exactly what I was seeing yesterday in our group, who are much affected by them as the original person. The communication takes place without any lessening of the feelings in the person who shares them to begin with. I too was given the opportunity to share my pleasure with others by transferring it to them. You can imagine then what kind of happiness exists in people who love the neighbor more than themselves and want nothing more than to spread their happiness to others. Their attitude traces its origin to the Lord, who communicates happiness to angels in the same way. When people share their happiness, they are constantly passing it along in the way just described, but they do so without reflecting on their active role in the process and without making a conscious, deliberate decision to engage in it. And I think it's this like organic, innate dynamic that our community has that just lends itself to embodying the kind of loving qualities that we read about in Swedenborg. And it's just an amazing, for me, for the years that I've been working at OffTheLeftEye, it's been an amazing result to see that not only are these teachings like providing the kind of means to make people feel peace during hard times, but we're literally seeing what happens when you begin to embody that as a group. And so, I don't know, as I'm trying to navigate all this stuff that's kind of crazy along with everyone else, I just like take stock knowing that there is a reflection of heaven right with all of us here if we can live what we're learning.
Yeah, so thanks to all of you out there on the internet for being a resource for us. What you're describing there, Chris, is awesome. And it made me think of, Swedenborg will talk about truth as the neighbor. Sometimes that love of the neighbor is the love of the truth, because the truth is what we use to help one another. And it got me thinking of the first time, I think since everything got really weird, maybe the first time that I forgot about everything, forgot about the looming crisis and the prognosis and all that, it was just posted at the beginning of this week, but there was our Swedenborgian Life live show with Jonathan Rose. At that time, life was pretty disrupted, but not all the way. So he was calling in remotely, but the studio was still open, so I could be in there. And we were pre-recording it because the internet was so bogged down by everybody being at home and streaming everything that we couldn't do it live, so we had to pre-record it. But I do remember getting into there and just thinking about the ideas, thinking about the neighbor and that truth, because when you're thinking about those ideas and talking about them, you're thinking about how they improve everybody's life and the potential of that. Deep into that, it was only near the end of the show that I was like, oh, right, I remember where we are and what all this stuff is, because that getting in that sphere was so, what was, as you're saying, is another form of that antidote, the love that we think, even if you're thinking about living by that love as it goes. So really appreciate getting to hear that from you, Chris. And thanks to everybody in the audience, because even reading the comments that you guys give in gives everybody that sense of, we're living it out, and hearing it echo off somebody else's love and wisdom and what they learn from it and what they think of or inspired by is awesome. Yeah. So thanks, everybody. Do you have something else?
Yeah, I wanted to just list a few things that have been really helping me. I spent my time talking about really getting clear about how fear makes everything worse. But the things that have sustained me is just this feeling of that we're in this together. I mean, I love when I'm just realizing that when I'm out at the food store and everybody's so nice. I mean, we're all sort of staying our distance, but I just feel like, just in the decisions, okay, don't take too many of these things. Here's something here. Yes, after you, and just this feeling like we're sharing this challenge and we're in it together, and we're here for each other, and how much just a simple conversation can just help boost the spirits, and how much it really does help one another just to say reassuring words or encouragement, and just to remember the bigger picture. Because whatever we're going through, and no matter how many months this goes on, it is temporary. We will come out of it, and there's a bigger truth, and there's bonding going on as we face this challenge together. So I have just really been moved by that, and moved by all the ways I've noticed people showing up to just do the right thing for each other and themselves, and for the common good. So yeah, like Chelsea was saying, just see what you can do, what's in front of you today, and do that. And remember that we're all called to be agents of God to each other for this. And God is right here in the midst of it all, just whenever we can lift someone else's spirits or get our spirits lifted by, or just a practical help. As I was driving out to a store today, I started to feel a little fear niggling, and I just decided to say, it sounds really sappy, but just like, I love you, world. I love you, everybody. And I felt this ache of love enter my chest that just brought tears to my eyes. And I'm sure I was just feeling this little glimpse of how much we're so loved by the Lord and by angels, just so watching over us. And we can forget that in the fear, but it's so right there. I mean, it just came so immediately. And so I want to end with a real short one from Divine Providence, number 4, that says, divine love and wisdom radiate from the Lord as a single whole. No whole occurs apart from a form. Everything we see with our eyes in this world is this kind of whole, and so is everything we do not see with our eyes, either in the depths of nature or in the spiritual world. An individual is this kind of whole, and so is a human community. So we're all really connected. We have this network of our minds can support each other. We have this network of angels, and we're just going to get through this day by day, and the Lord is right present in all of it. So grateful for all of you out there, and every way that you just bring kind words onto our channel page, and grateful for all my teammates just carrying on as best we can. And yeah, just love everybody.
Woohoo! Yeah, and I wanted to say, you said no matter how many months this goes on. I love that. I love all the thoughts you just had. No matter how many months this goes on, Off the Left Eye is going to go on. We are going to be continuing to bring as much content as we possibly can to you. We actually were fortunate enough we already shot all the episodes for our season 5 before this all happened. So that will be coming out as if nothing happened. We've got episodes of News from Heaven. And if we get to the end of all that stuff and we're still here, we're gonna be experimenting with ways to bring you content like we are now. We're not gonna stop for anything. So because we love all of you, and we love getting to be in this community with you. Chris, Chelsea, Karin, any final thoughts before I bring us to our end piece here?
No, just that we're here to support the community, and that's important to us. Content's important to us, obviously, but the support is also important too. So keep tuning in with us.
Yeah, and basically just echoing that connection, remembering our connection to other people in a positive way is just so helpful. And so whether that's reaching out through a comment to just have somebody, listen and mirror, reflect what you're going through, or tune into a, premiere of one of our episodes, or just any way that you can connect and remind yourself of that greater whole that Karin was talking about is there. That's like a refuge that's real and there for us to connect into.
I'm remembering that Cara Dom wanted us to pass along her love to all you in the audience. She couldn't be on the show, but she's passing that on. And one of our viewers, Robbie, had this wonderful comment that said, with the coronavirus scare going on, one thing that helps me is Swedenborg's words about heaven and God. I hope every one of us can help each other and be kind to one another. That's really the main reason why we are here, to love. All
right, Robbie, we're going to do it. Let's do that. Let's all do that.
Great opportunity for loving. Mm-hmm.
Right. So we're going to leave you with a meditation. This is, at times it can, it's really useful to actually get into doing an exercise. And this came about because Melissa, who's on our community team, you've probably interacted with her if you have commented and you're getting responses there. We heard that she was doing this meditation, giving it, equipping people with it as they dealt with their own fear and anxiety around this. And so we were, hey, can you record that? And she was gracious enough to do so, and incorporates a Swedenborg quote into it. So if you got some time, and I think we do, sit, get in a comfortable position, listen to how she walks us through it, and you can return to it as an exercise whenever you want. So thanks, Chris, Chelsea, Karin, for hanging out, and thanks to all of you for watching. And so we'll leave you with this little moment of calm and centering.
Make sure you are in a comfortable seated or resting position. If you are seated, I recommend sitting on a cushion or block to elevate your hips above your knees. Draw your ribs back so they are in line with your hips. Without thrusting your ribs forward, bring your shoulders down, letting go of any tension or holding. Draw your neck back so your body is well balanced and comfortably holding itself up. You should feel no tension, discomfort, or pain while meditating. So make any necessary adjustments now. Pause if you need to. If you're seated, bring your hands to your knees, or if you're lying down, bring your arms and hands to your sides. Close your eyes. Turn your attention to your breath. Take a moment to observe your state of mind, your breath, and your body. Let go of any stress. Breathe peaceful energy into any place in your body that holds tension. Inhale and exhale through your nose, lengthening each breath to 4 counts. Inhale. Feel your body expand and relax as you fill with air. Exhale. As you empty of breath, feel where your body is connected to the earth. Notice you are held safely in place. Imagine a ball of white light above you, your own personal sunshine. This light glows with loving, warm energy. It is protecting you and nurturing you. Feel this glow embrace you. As the light warms you, you feel safe. You know you are loved. Imagine the light circulating around you and through you, pulsing through your nervous system just like blood and oxygen do. Moving from the crown of your head down through your throat, into your chest, and into each arm, illuminating from within, moving down the arms and into your hands, illuminating your fingertips, then circling back up your arms and through your chest, down through your belly to your hips, and then out into each leg, into your feet, and illuminating your toes, circling back up into the body, constantly moving. You are loved. You are safe. You are connected to everything. Now imagine this glow moving from you and into any other people in your household. Imagine the light protecting, loving, and energizing them, circulating through their bodies, and then from them see the light embracing and protecting your household. See the light over each home in your neighborhood, and then over your city, loving and connecting us. See the light over your whole country. Then imagine yourself in space, looking at the earth as if at a star, seeing its vibrant, beautiful energy, wondering at its power and vulnerability. Send the earth your love and your healing energy. Imagine the entire world glowing with the infinite energy and love of this warm light. Inhale, and as you expand, feel your connection to the divine. Exhale, feel your body connected to the earth. Remember that though your mind and your soul are everywhere, your body is here, grounded, supported, protected, at once a humble and vibrant part of the cosmos. Now we will take a minute to breathe on our own. Thoughts will come up, that's okay, but remain a passive observer. Notice them and let them go without judgment. Just remember to come back to your breath. It may help to count. Inhale 4 counts. Exhale 4 counts. Start to breathe awareness back into your body. Deepen your inhale, lengthen your exhales. Feel your body in space. I'll leave you with this quote from Emanuel Swedenborg. Those who trust in the divine are not anxious, let alone worried, when they give thought to the morrow. They remain even-tempered whether or not they realize desires, and they do not grieve over loss. They are content with their lot. They know that for those who trust in the divine, all things are moving toward an everlasting state of happiness, and that no matter what happens to them at any time, it contributes to that state. It should be recognized that divine providence is overall, that is, it is present within the smallest details of all, and that people in the stream of Providence are being carried along constantly toward happier things, whatever appearance the means may present. Those in the stream of Providence are people who trust in the divine and ascribe everything to the divine. Before you open your eyes, take a moment to send loving, healing energy out into the world, a reminder that love is stronger than any fear, illness, or anger, and that we are all part of that love. Now wiggle your fingers and your toes, slowly opening your eyes again and coming back to the here and now. Namaste, everyone.